Every year, floods displace over 20 million people worldwide. But in Ecuador, this year's disaster brought an even darker twist, a deadly oil spill contaminating the very water people rely on to survive. Thousands of families woke up to find their homes underwater. Streets turned into rivers. Farms were destroyed. People lost everything they owned in just a few hours. But the real nightmare began after the floods. In the city of Esmeraldas, an oil spill poisoned the water supply. The rivers that once gave life are now filled with toxic chemicals, making it impossible for people to drink, cook, or even wash. More than 22 lives have been lost so far, and tens of thousands are struggling to find clean water. Children are crying for food and water. Families are desperate for help. This disaster is not just about floods, it's about survival. How did this happen? Why did the oil spill make things worse? And what can be done to save these people? In this video, we'll uncover the full story behind Ecuador's deadly floods and the crisis that followed. Floods are one of nature's most destructive forces, but what happened in Ecuador this year was beyond imagination. Heavy rains began pouring across the country in late March 2025. Rivers overflowed, sweeping away homes, roads, and farmland. In Esmeraldas, one of the worst-hit areas, entire neighborhoods were submerged within hours. Families had no time to save their belongings or even escape safely. But the floods didn't stop there. In Esmeraldas, an oil pipeline ruptured during the disaster, spilling thousands of gallons of crude oil into rivers and streams. The water that people depended on for drinking and farming became toxic overnight. Imagine waking up to find your home underwater, and realizing you can't even drink the water around you. For Maria Lopez, a mother of 3 living in Esmeraldas, this disaster was life-changing. She told reporters, "My children are thirsty, but I can't give them water from the river, it smells like gasoline. We don't know what to do." Her story is just one of thousands from families struggling to survive. The floods claimed at least 22 lives, but the effects go far beyond numbers. Over 10,000 people have been displaced, forced to leave their homes and live in temporary shelters. Many lost everything: clothes, food, and even their livestock. The oil spill made things worse. Rivers turned black with crude oil, killing fish and plants that local communities relied on for food. Farmers watched helplessly as their fields were destroyed by both floodwaters and toxic chemicals. In Esmeraldas alone, more than 50% of families reported losing access to clean drinking water. Children are especially vulnerable in disasters like this. In one shelter near Quito, volunteers found dozens of children suffering from dehydration and skin infections caused by contaminated water. One volunteer said, "These kids have nothing, no clean water, no food. They cry all night because they're scared." The emotional toll is just as severe as the physical damage. Many families are still searching for missing loved ones or trying to rebuild their lives from scratch. Floods are common in Ecuador during the rainy season, but this disaster was different. Experts say climate change is making extreme weather events more frequent and intense. Warmer temperatures cause heavier rainfall, which leads to faster river overflow. The oil spill added another layer to the crisis. Investigations revealed that the pipeline running through Esmeraldas was old and poorly maintained, a ticking time bomb waiting for disaster to strike. When floodwaters hit the pipeline with full force, it ruptured instantly. This combination of natural and human-made disasters highlights a growing problem: how unprepared many countries are for climate-related emergencies. Ecuador's government has promised to fix its aging infrastructure and improve disaster response systems, but for families like Maria's, these promises come too late. Despite the devastation, there is hope. Rescue teams have been working day and night to help survivors. Helicopters are delivering food and clean water to remote areas cut off by floodwaters. Volunteers are setting up medical camps to treat injuries and illnesses caused by contaminated water. In Esmeraldas, environmental groups are working to clean up the oil spill before it spreads further downstream. They're using special equipment to remove crude oil from rivers, a slow but necessary process. Local communities are also stepping up to help each other. In one village near Esmeraldas, neighbors came together to build makeshift shelters for families who lost their homes. One resident said, "We don't have much ourselves, but we'll share what we have until things get better." While recovery efforts are ongoing, experts warn that rebuilding will take months, or even years. The government has pledged millions of dollars in aid for affected areas, but many fear it won't be enough. The long-term effects of this disaster could be devastating for Ecuador's ecosystems. Crude oil spilled into rivers doesn't just harm humans, it destroys aquatic life too. Fish populations have already dropped drastically in Esmeraldas due to poisoned waters. Mangrove forests along the coast, critical habitats for wildlife, are also at risk from oil contamination. These forests act as natural flood barriers but may lose their ability to protect coastal areas if they're damaged by pollution. Scientists warn that it could take years for rivers and ecosystems in Ecuador to recover fully from this disaster, and some damage may be permanent. Stories of resilience. Amid all the destruction and despair, there are stories of incredible resilience from the people of Ecuador. Take Juan Perez, a fisherman who lost his boat in the floods but refused to give up hope. He told reporters, "I've lived by this river my whole life, it's part of who I am. I'll rebuild my boat and start again." In another village near Esmeraldas, women formed a community group to distribute food and clean water donated by charities. Their leader said, "We can't wait for help, we have to help ourselves first." These stories remind us that even in the darkest times, humanity's spirit shines through. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel for more fascinating and eye-opening content. Together, let's explore the stories that shape our world.